You know, an emergency, it doesn't look the same everywhere, right? It could be this tiny, microscopic virus threatening a kid's life. Or it could be one single, unconfirmed event that's about to set an entire region on fire. Today, we're diving into two completely different crises, happening worlds apart. But you'll see, they're connected in a way you might not think.
So, on one side, you've got this huge public health battle against the virus, and on the other, a potential war, totally wrapped up in rumors and uncertainty. Both are happening as we speak. So let's kick things off in South Asia.
All right, first up, we're heading to Bangladesh, where it is an absolute race against the clock. They're seeing this really dangerous surge in measles, and it's triggered a massive all-hands-on-deck emergency response to get the country's youngest, most vulnerable kids vaccinated. And when I say massive, I mean it. We're talking about an emergency vaccination campaign rolling out across 18 different districts. That's huge. This isn't just a local thing. It's a major, coordinated national push where the outbreak is hitting the hardest.
And they're really zeroing in here. The target? Kids from just 6 months old up to 5 years. And they're focusing on 30 specific sub-districts, or upazilas as they're called there. Now, the official word from the health ministry is, hey, we've got this, the situation is under control, don't panic. But what's really happening on the ground?
Yeah, to get the real story, you've got to look past the press releases. We need to go inside the hospitals, right to the front lines, where doctors and nurses are dealing with this, day in and day out.
Okay, so this chart gives you a quick snapshot. Look at Barguna, 40 patients admitted right now, and tragically, we know of 3 deaths just since January 1st. Then you have Munchiganj, which has been officially labeled a high-risk hotspot. And in Pabna, well, the hospitals there are just completely overwhelmed.
And the speed of this thing is what's really scary. Take Munchiganj. You'd think being so close to the capital would help, but the virus is just spreading like wildfire. Out of almost 50 suspected cases, lab tests have already confirmed 26 of them. That's why it's a major hotspot for sure.
And this report from Pabna, wow, it just paints a brutal picture. I mean, listen to this. Patients are treated on the floors, in the corridors, there's a shortage of beds, the hospitals are just overflowing, they're treating sick kids wherever they can find a spot. It just shows you the incredible strain the whole system is under.
But here's the thing, they are fighting back. Amid all this chaos, there's a huge response. Pabna just got a massive shipment, almost 180,000 new vaccine doses. That's a huge logistical win, and it's absolutely critical if they're going to get ahead of this virus.
Okay. Now we're going to do a complete 180. We're shifting gears from a war against a virus to the threat of an actual war. We're moving to the Middle East, where one single, totally unverified claim has just raised the stakes to a whole new level.
And here it is. This is the bombshell claim that has everyone talking. Iran's Revolutionary Guard is saying they've downed a US F-35 fighter jet. We're talking one of America's most advanced pieces of military hardware, supposedly shot down over Iran.
So here's the story that Iranian media is pushing. They say their forces spotted the jet, fired a missile, hit their target. Then they say the pilot managed to eject safely. And here's the key part. They claim he landed on Iranian soil and was captured. I really have to stress this. This is all coming from Iran, and none of it has been verified.
So what's the real story here? What's the truth? That's the billion-dollar question, right? Because with zero hard evidence out there, all these conflicting stories are starting to pop up, and it's creating this really dangerous, uncertain situation.
I mean, this is the classic fog of war playing out in real time. On one side, you have Iran's official story. We have the pilot. But then, you hear these other reports, and again, they're not verified either, that say no, the pilot is alive and hiding, and the US might even be trying to rescue him. I mean, those are two totally different worlds.
And get this. So far, from the United States, crickets. Absolute silence. And just as important, Iran hasn't shown a single shred of proof to back up this incredible claim. No pictures of the pilot, no photos of the wreckage, nothing. Zip, nada.
So you might be thinking, okay, it's just a story, why does it matter so much? Well, because if, and that's a big if this story turns out to be true, it's an absolute game changer. It could change the entire direction of this conflict.
Everything, I mean everything, comes down to this one thing, the capture of a single American pilot. That would give Iran an unbelievable amount of leverage.
Think about the fallout if this is real.
You're looking at a major, drastic escalation. The entire dynamic of the war would shift overnight. It could literally force the U.S. to the negotiating table. And remember, all of this is supposedly happening while U.S. and Israeli airstrikes are already hitting Iran.
And yeah, none of this is happening in a bubble. There's some serious, high-stakes diplomacy going on in the background. Italy's prime minister just showed up in Saudi Arabia on a surprise visit. That's the first EU leader to do so since this conflict kicked off. Why? To calm down allies and lock down energy supplies. The whole region is just holding its breath.
So, let's bring it back. We've got two completely different crises, right? One is being fought with vaccines and crowded hospitals, the other with fighter jets and missiles. But they actually share this one incredibly powerful challenge.
In both of these stories, the very first battle isn't with a virus or a missile. It's with confusion. It's with misinformation. It doesn't matter if you're a parent in Bangladesh trying to figure out how serious measles is, or a diplomat in DC trying to find out if a jet was really shot down. The fight for clear, reliable information, that's everything.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. In the world we live in now, where stories, true or not, spread instantly, what's really more dangerous? Is it the threat you can actually see, like a virus under a microscope or a missile on a radar? Or is it the story you're being told? The story that could shape reality and force everyone's hand,